Yang Seo is curious why Ok-yeong asked her to leave Miran, even though she's not the one the most she cares. Ok-yeong feels that Jonghyun is hopeless, even if she comes back she will not be the same. But Yang Seo is waiting for someone to come back, so she can't leave, because she still wants to compete with Jonghyun. Only Jonghyun stimulates her and makes her grow. She is also the one who can truly understand Yang Seo. Ok-yeong feels that she has never found someone, no matter how long she waits, like Yang Seo waits for Jonghyun. Since Jonghyun left, director Kong has been having nightmares, so Do-in suggests her to visit Jonghyun. Because the rehearsal will start next week and Do-in can also handle the media herself. Jonghyun brought all the scripts with her, that means she hasn't completely given up. When Do-in told the assistant to prepare the director's trip to Mokpo, Jiren heard it and she immediately packed up. At that time Yang Seo found out when Jiren wanted to accompany the director to meet Jonghyun. Yang Seo thought Jonghyun had suffered enough, but Jiren misses her so much. Then Yang Seo asks permission to meet Jonghyun and will bring her back. She runs after director Kong to let her come along to meet Jonghyun. Yang Seo gives the reason that she wants to give something to Jonghyun and she will practice hard when she returns.
단장님.
Yang Seo feels that another group wants to recruit Ok-yeong. She doesn't explain much, but it seems like Ok-yeong plans to leave their group. But director thinks Ok-yeong sometimes says silly things, so don't worry. Finally, they arrive in Mokpo and go to Jonghyun's house. Not inviting her in, Mrs. Gozian instead splashes water on director Kong while saying, "How dare she come here?" Director Kong goes there because she wants to pick Jonghyun back up. But Mrs. Gozian won't let her daughter be taken away by her. Even so, director Kong is sure that Jonghyun will return at her own will, because she can't live without Pansori. Mrs. Gozian was very angry and splashed water on them again. Then Yang Seo met Jonghyun's sister to tell her where Jonghyun was. Yang Seo met Jonghyun who was looking for shells. But Jonghyun ignored her and Yang Seo's feet tripped. Jonghyun asked what Yang Seo was actually doing. It turns out that Yang Seo brought the record that was left in the Miran. But Jonghyun doesn't need it, so she brings it back because she won't touch Pansori again. Yang Seo thinks she has given up because she failed once and this is her life. Why does Yang Seo care? Then Yang Seo gives the record, but Jonghyun tells her to destroy it. She doesn't care about that anymore. And when she throws it into the sea, Jonghyun immediately jumps into the sea to get it. But Jonghyun can't swim and she drowns. Yang Seo panics, and she jumps into the sea to save Jonghyun. She pulls Jonghyun's hand and finally, they get up safely. Yang Seo hits Jonghyun's back and says stupid, why jump if she can't swim? Jonghyun is very angry and holds Yang Seo's neck because she wants to die without Yang Seo mocking her. Just live her life arrogantly, because she is the successor of Ok-yeong. Because whatever Jonghyun does, it won't bring back her voice. But Yang Seo thinks, at least Jonghyun can still act, her acting that Yang Seo could never surpass. Yang Seo was never just afraid of Jonghyun's singing, but the way she acted is scared Yang Seo. Because no matter how hard Yang Seo tried, she would never be like Jonghyun. During the last audition, her acting was something Yang Seo could only dream of. She could barely breathe when she saw Jonghyun on stage. She only wished with all her heart that she could act like Jonghyun just once, but she couldn't. Since losing her voice, Jonghyun kept dreaming of the same thing. She kept dreaming about their last audition. In her dream she could sing like before, she felt like she had full control over her voice. Then she woke up, but the dream still felt real, so she tried to sing like in the dream, but it was no use. Every time it happened, she felt so scared and lonely, like she was left alone in the world. Then Yang Seo encouraged Jonghyun that she would never be alone from now on and forever. Because Yang Seo would be by her side until the end and Yang Seo would wait for her to return to the stage, no matter how long it took. Jang Jae was very worried, because Jonghyun came home late at night. She told her that her mother had a fight with some guests from Seoul. Her mother then told Jonghyun to sleep now because she had to wake up early tomorrow. But Jonghyun was curious about what the director said, but her mother kicked her out because she didn't want to listen anything from her anymore. Jonghyun apologizes to her mother, but she still wants to do gapjuk. Her mother thinks her daughter is crazy. What did the girl actually say to her that she brought up gapjuk again? Singing is the only way to feel the great freedom inside Jonghyun. Every time she turns away from Pansori, she gets more lost and frustrated and she can't breathe. The only way to release her feelings is to sing and she has no other choice. Her mother thinks Jonghyun is crazy. How can she sing if she lost her voice? Who will listen to her if she can't sing? But Jonghyun won't give up. She will find another way. If she can't sing, she will be a dancer or extra on stage, but her mother still tells her to wake up. In the morning, Jonghyun meets Yang Seo and director Kong. She can't go now because she has hurt her mother too many times, so she can't hurt her anymore. She will come back after getting her permission, so go first. Director Kong understands, come back to Miran, when her mother happily lets her go. Jang Jae is confused when she finds out Jonghyun is not in her room. Then they see Jonghyun from a distance who returns home. She says that she won't leave without getting her mother's permission, so don't worry. After Yang Seo returns, Jiren is curious why Jonghyun didn't come with her. She is worried if her illness is so bad that she can't come. Yang Seo explains that she can't go back now, but she promises to go back. Yang Seo already said that Jiren is waiting for her and she asked a lot about Jiren. Actually, there are a lot of things that Jiren wants to tell her. Finally, the joint performance of Ondol with Princess Pyongyang will start soon. Ogyeong comes to the theater and her fans crowd her. Then while she is doing her makeup, director approaches her and asks about her readiness. Director Kong lets her choose the drama for their next production, even though previously the director didn't like it when Ogyeong chose an experimental drama. Director Kong feels that Ogyeong is often asked to join other groups and even the film industry. No matter how much money they offer, Ogyeong always chooses Miran, so it's time for the director to sacrifice for her. Ogyeong is a bit surprised and she thinks it's the most tempting offer she's ever received. That's because Ogyeong is the best male lead in female gapjuk. Finally, the theater performance starts. Jiren looks nervous and Yang Seo encourages her. When on stage, Jiren acting, crying as a princess, and her father said that if she kept crying then she would be married to Ondol the Fool. Then Yang Seo came in with a ball. She was Ondol the Fool. She then acted and sang, and when she saw the beauty of the princess, she fell in love. When she realized that in front of her was a princess, Ondol immediately bowed her head. Seeing Ondol's attitude, who wanted to cry with her, the princess's heart was touched and they fell in love with each other. Then the princess sang and gave a ring as their wedding vows. And they both acted and sang well, making the audience cheer for them. According to Hyeong, the audience's cheers were the same as when she and Ogyeong first played theater. But Ogyeong thought it was useless to remember the past because their performance today would be legendary. She asked Hyeong to show her best performance and Ogyeong would also show her best. Hyeong did a beautiful sword dance and amazed the audience. Then Ogyeong appeared and Hyeong hugged her. They were the adult versions of Ondol and Princess Pyongyang. They did the same song and dance as Juran and Yang Xiao. They relieved their longing after not seeing each other for a long time and meet again as adults. Although they did not become prince, Ogyeong still looks cool. There is no other male lead who is as great as Ogyeong. After meeting again, Ondel was made a soldier by the princess and too much blood was sacrificed to catch the traitor. Ondel no longer sees the wise princess who longs for peace. What she sees now is a princess who wants war and bloodshed. She feels like an incompetent husband because she cannot see and prevent her love from decreasing. Then Ondel promises to give her victory once again. Many victims have fallen and for Ondel, it is very torturous. How can love endanger others? What she has done in the palace, as the princess's husband, is to behead the traitor. She holds the sword according to the orders of her beloved princess, but now her whole body is covered in blood. Is this the way of the tiger and the dragon that she promised to the prince? This endless cycle of bloodshed, she never imagined it would be like this. At that time the princess came and suddenly an arrow pierced Ondel's chest. The princess held her husband who fell because she was hit by an arrow. She said that life is not always beautiful and many cried and despaired. The princess asked Ondel not to talk because her wound would get worse. And then her husband breathed her last and the princess could only cry. Seeing the performance made the audience go crazy and they asked for more tickets outside the stage. The director felt that they had seen Ogyeong as great as usual, so they would not accuse her of using opium again. The players entered the stage one by one to say goodbye to the audience, but Ogyeong was not there even though the audience called her name. Hyeran invited Ogyeong to leave Miran and join another group. That this joint performance was Hyeran's last performance in Miran. Ogyeong already knew that and this was also her last performance. She would quit Gakjuk starting today. There was nothing more she could show or wanted to do. Ogyeong was going to act in a movie and she had signed contract. Hyeran asked to come with her, but Ogyeong thinks they should separate now. Hyeran can live her own life, and she will live her life too. Of course, Hyeran didn't want to because she was the one who bribed journalists to suppress the news about her opium addiction. She made Ogyeong the perfect prince by getting her hands dirty, so never leave without her permission. Ogyeong thought Hyeran could control her again because she never once controlled Ogyeong. Then Hyeran apologized and begged Ogyeong not to leave her. Ogyeong asked, is there anything left between them? If Hyeran wants to be remembered as someone she loves, then don't act lower. Then Ogyeong said goodbye to her princess, that Hyeran's performance tonight was the best.
옥경아!
Director Kong invited Ogyeong to meet the reporters, but she instead thanked the director for teaching her Galjuk when she was lost before and making her the best male actor. Director Kong was a bit surprised because her performance was extraordinary and she had promised that Ogyeong could choose the script she liked. But according to Ogyeong, it was too late because she was no longer tied to Miran. Director Kong felt that she had no sense of responsibility because there was still a performance left, but Ogyeong still left them until the director chased her, but Ogyeong kept driving her car. And Hyeran also fell and cried because she chased her. In the middle of the night, Jonyeon woke up and practiced acting and singing in front of her house. Her mother woke up and saw her from behind the door. Even though her voice was hoarse, Jonyeon still sang and it touched her mother. Her mother could only cry seeing her daughter who not giving up on practicing singing. In the morning, her mother took Jonyeon to the beach. Her mother told her about a pansori expert, Master Yoon, whose voice was not suitable for pansori. His voice was very hoarse and he could not sing high notes. Jongnian was curious about how he could become a pansori expert. Master Yung had honed his voice for years and changed it into a hoarse but powerful voice. His singing did not sound hoarse and instead sounded very round. So many people said he sang with a voice he did not have, that she sang something impossible. Then her mother asked what Jongnian would do to fill the emptiness of her voice, if her mother would fill it with tears or sighs. Then her mother sang with the voice her mother had told her before. She could sing the pansori that she used to sing well and made Jongnian touch and shed tears.